Hello, and welcome to this eSchool News webcast. My name's Andrew Barber, and I'm a senior contributing editor here at eSchool News, and I'll be acting as the moderator for today's presentation. It's sponsored by littleBits, and it's titled From STEM to STEAM, Bringing STEAM to Your School District. Now, before I introduce our speakers, I want to take a few moments to highlight just a couple of items. First, today's event will be recorded, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. In a couple of days, we'll send out an email to all of you that contains a link to the recorded event. You'll be also be able to download a PDF of the presentation from that same email. And second, please ask questions. Don't feel as if you have to wait until the end. At any time during the presentation, if you have a question, just type it into the Q&A box on your console and hit that submit button. I hope we'll have about 10 minutes or so at the end when our speakers can answer your questions. We also have a chat function which can be launched via that brown group chat icon down at the bottom of your screen. And please use chat to talk among yourselves or to contact me or the eSchool News team with any technical issues or any other concerns you may have. However, do me a favor, please don't use the chat function to ask our panelists questions. They are simply not going to have time to monitor the chats during their presentation. So if you have a question for the panelists, please use the Q&A panel instead. And with that out of the way, let me formally introduce our speakers. Dr. Traci Kohler is Director of STEM Resources in the Instructional Technology and Media Services Group at Collier County Public Schools in Florida. She and her team use instructional coaching to help teachers, students, and administrators integrate instructional technology and STEM strategies into the curriculum. She's led several national and state-level workshops, including at the Council of Chief State School Officers, FETC, and the Florida Association of Educational Data Systems Conference. She's also the past president for the Florida Council of Instructional Technology Leaders. And today, Traci is joined by her team of instructional specialists, including Lindy George, Mary Marshall, and Amy Hance. And our introductory speaker today is Christine Leonard. She's Education Manager at littleBits, working to put together products and content to help educators and students invent. And from what I understand from an earlier conversation, when she's not talking to educators about littleBits, she helps her niece and nephew build their own contraption. So welcome, Traci and Christine, and welcome too to the instructional specialists from Collier County. Christine, why don't you get us started?
Thank you so much, Andrew, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys. And as he said, I'm on the education team here at littleBits, and let's get started. So a quick overview of what I'm going to be talking about. I want to start with the current situation of STEAM and STEM in education and amongst youth. From there, I'll go into a quick introduction about littleBits. Some of you may not be familiar with them. Talk about STEAM and why we think it's important. And then I'll go into 5 ways to either start or supercharge your STEAM program in your school. We've heard a lot about this from educators, and this is sort of a synthesization of what we've heard over the years. So the current situation, there is high-tech use and low-tech understanding amongst youth, and not just youth, but also adults as well. We all use our smartphones. We don't know how they work. We don't understand the hardware, the technology that goes behind it. We all use elevators. We all use refrigerators, but we don't really understand the tech that goes into it. And here at littleBits, we think that's just not okay. The barrier of entry to technical fields is high. There are experts who are content to be experts, and they tell us how we can and cannot interact with the world. And we don't think that's okay either. Girls, students of color, and low-income students have a persistent achievement gap. And we really believe that the jobs of tomorrow haven't been invented yet. We don't know what they're going to be. But we do think that they are going to require creativity and innovation, and we need to set ourselves up for success for those future jobs. So our mission at littleBits is to empower everyone to create inventions. And we do that with our platform of easy-to-use electronic building blocks. And we really mean everyone. We want students, adults, everybody, but we found that it really resonates in schools. So we have an ever-growing library of bits, and to make this more understandable, I want to talk a little bit about how littleBits work. So littleBits are electronic building blocks, and they snap together with magnets. They're color-coded. The blue ones are your power, and your green ones are your output. And that's just a fancy way of saying that they do something. They do things like light up or move or make noise. And I think every educator who's ever used littleBits before will say that the ones that make noise are usually the most popular with students. The pink ones are your inputs. That means that they change the way the outputs behave. So for here in the example, we have a slide dimmer, which works just like your slide dimmer at home with your lights. You slide it up and more power goes through. You slide it down and less power goes through. Your orange ones are your wire and your logic, and this is how you can introduce more complexity to your circuits. But when you add other materials, such as craft materials or Legos or anything you can think of, you have an invention platform where the possibilities are limitless. Here we have a bubble bot where they have used a fan and a dimmer to create a way and added a cup to it to make a bubble bot. They can make bubbles themselves, and they experiment by adding more force or less force, and it's really amazing to watch. So we said that you can combine it with other materials, but you can combine it with other platforms as well, such as Lego, as I mentioned, Arduino, Scratch, Minecraft, Makey. So what's really powerful about this is that if you're using littleBits, it's not in a universe by itself. It really does play nice with other platforms out there. When we talk about littleBits, we like to say that it has a low floor and a high ceiling. And by low floor, I mean that anybody can get started. It's very easy to put together a circuit. But as your creative and technical confidence grows, it grows with you. So you can make more and more complicated inventions, add more complicated logic, so everyone can get started and it can get as complicated and complex as you want. So besides the low floors and the high ceilings, we also say that it has wide walls, which means it works across curriculum. So it's not just the obvious science and engineering, it also works in the arts and humanities and math as well. To give you an example about the humanities side, we had a social studies class that was studying the Americans with Disabilities Act. And after studying the law, they were challenged to create inventions that would help somebody with a disability. So how do you help somebody who is blind cross the street? So really making it relevant into the real world for these students. And that's just an example of how it could work across curriculum. So why STEAM? STEAM adds art and design to STEM, and we really believe that it broadens the horizons of students, and not just students, but also adults as well, and really thinking across disciplines. This kind of goes back to the Renaissance learning, Renaissance man and woman. It's really about being well-rounded. And we don't think that each of these categories, each of these letters represent something that is in a silo and they don't interact with each other. We really believe that it is a cross-disciplinary way of thinking. So now that I've given you a basic overview of what littleBits is and why we think STEAM is important, I want to talk about bringing STEAM to your school or district and what we've heard from educators that we've talked to over time. So one of the big things is instilling a growth mindset in students, and that, again, I would say not just students, but teachers as well. One of the biggest hurdles that students face is failing. And as we started to think about our products and our kits and our content, we thought about how to sort of solidify and codify the growth mindset and the journey forward. So the chart that I have here is from our new STEAM student set, where we talk about introducing littleBits and moving on through more complicated challenges. And at the very beginning, the first three parts of this are providing scaffolding for teachers and students, which is tip number 2. And I really think of this as the learning how to invent. It's important for students and teachers to learn how to invent and really have the tools that they need to succeed. So some other examples of these tools, in our booklet, we talk about each of the bits and we give real life examples, real world analogies. So for example, this is our light sensor. And at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see real-world analogies, and one of them, for example, is a nightlight. When the light goes down, when there isn't as much light, the nightlight turns on, and when it's daylight, the nightlight turns off. So it's trying to connect students with the technology that they're using every day. We also introduced the littleBits invention cycle. This is our version of the invention scientific method, where we encourage students to create, invent something, build something, play with it. Did it work as they expected? Did it not work as they expected? Do they need to try something else? That's when you go into the remix side. You know, how do I make this go faster, slower, et cetera, carry more weight? Then you go into the share section of the cycle. Share it with your friends, your colleagues, your teachers, your parents. Get their feedback, and then you go back to the beginning. In the booklet, we also provide examples of what we're calling guided challenges. So walking you through exactly how to invent a throwing arm. And we give step-by-step instructions about how to do it, and we provide the science that's making it work. But always making it fun and always making it relevant. On the right here, and by the way, if you're not on Twitter, there is so much good maker education ideas on Twitter, and I can tell you I spend too much time there seeing what educators are doing. This is an example of some students in a makerspace who created littleBits inchworms, and they were racing them. And so it's really connecting the fun and the enjoyment and the fresh discovery to the learning that they're doing. So here's the remix section. So you've created an invention, remix it and see what else you can do with it. So third tip that we have, and I think this is one of our more important ones, is building STEAM projects around real-world issues. Building projects around things that kids care about, that really affect them. One of the things that we talk about is that it's not as effective to say that, oh, learning math will help you in the future, 10 years from now. That doesn't resonate in the same way as saying, why don't you solve a problem for something you care about right now? So on the left here, we have an example of students at the Browning School. They had a whole unit on invention, and they did a Shark Tank competition where they had to think of a problem. They had to make an invention for it. They had to iterate over and over and over again. And at the end of the unit, they had to present to a Shark Tank-like panel of local businesses that came in. And we thought that was just so clever. On the right, you have an example of a girl who she was inspired by bat sonar, which I was blown away by. And so this cuff on her hand has a sensor as she approaches an obstacle. And when she approaches the obstacle, it buzzes. So you can imagine somebody who was blind, or you're up in the middle of the night and you need to get a glass of water, navigating the world around you. And we were just so inspired by this. One more example, this guy is Max. He is such a fun student. The problem that he identified was that so many cats in this country are euthanized because they aren't socialized properly. They're unadoptable. So he thought, okay, how can I socialize cats at scale to make them more adoptable? So he invented a contraption that when a cat came to its feeder, it would trigger a motion sensor, and it would start playing human voices on a speaker. And so the cat would begin to associate the pleasant experience of eating with human voices. And he talked to local shelters, he talked to vets, and he won the science fair with this project. And we're just so happy for him. So at the end of the day, these students and these kids are associating problems that are relevant to them and inventing for it. So where this fits in the littleBits journey is, you're getting to these open challenges and creating your own challenges. And so we thought about how do you take that kind of making it relevant to your world and using it in the classroom. So we've come up with these open challenges. where we don't tell you what to invent. We don't say invent a car or invent a throwing arm. We say invent something that helps someone else, or invent something that will improve your habits, or do a Rube Goldberg-like chain reaction contraption. And here's an example of one of my favorites, hack your habits. The idea is think of something that you can measure. And the example we give here is how often do you recycle in your classroom? So invent something that would measure that for you. And then once you've established your baseline, invent something that will improve the behavior. Maybe you want to create a dispenser of candy every time somebody recycles. How do you get more people recycling? How do you change the habit? So that's one example of how we've taken this concept of making it relevant to your life or students' lives and turning it into a classroom activity. And with that, I go to one of our other tips is connecting with curriculum. So we really think it's important for the maker education and standards to not be mutually exclusive. You really need both. You need the creativity of STEAM and maker education and the rigor and depth of standards. So for this new kit, the STEAM student set that we've created, we go through each part of our invention cycle and we link it up to next generation science standards. And we've also included an invention log, which we think is a critical component for students to start documenting their invention process, what worked, what didn't work, and it also provides a tool for assessment for teachers. And the fifth tip that we have is ensuring that teachers have support and training. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Lisa Wang. She's an art teacher at Marymount School in New York. Is that sometimes people think STEAM just means adding paint to science projects, and it's really not. It's about mixing the left brain and the right brain and making the study of math and science more visual and creative. So if you're thinking about implementing a STEAM program in your school, it really can't just be about adding paint to science projects. Giving teachers time to tinker, offering STEAM training, and empowering the pollinators. One school that we talked to really talked about making a STEAM team, identifying the teacher that was willing to learn alongside of his or her students, finding that librarian who really wants to make an amazing makerspace, administrators who are willing to try things and innovate. Finding that STEAM team that will pollinate STEAM throughout your school's culture, and then ensuring that the teachers have the support that they need. And with that, I will say that we do have a STEAM PD program that's online and flexible. So if you are thinking about introducing STEAM and or littleBits into your school, we do have this program available. So I will say that we have lots of resources available online. If you go to our education section of our website, we have tons of guides, tons of lessons. We also have an educator discount that I encourage you to sign up for. And thank you so much. And with that, I'd love to pass it on to Traci.
Thank you so much, Christine. We really appreciate our 3-year partnership with littleBits that really helped us bring powerful STEAM learning to our school district. First, I thought it might be important to talk about some quick demographic information about Collier County Public Schools. In Florida, our school district boundaries are actually county-wide boundaries. So in Collier County Public Schools, we have over 46,000 students in 50 schools, including an alternative school program. We are actually considered a medium-sized district in the state. And our demographics have changed over the years in that we are a minority-majority school district with an awesome, diverse student population that speaks over 86 languages. In addition, Collier County Public Schools has the 3rd highest percentage of English language learners in Florida and the highest percentage of migrant students in Florida. And lastly, our students who participate in the free and reduced lunch program has grown to 63%. So we know it's critically important to provide hands-on experiences in school to eliminate any gaps in background knowledge and to foster those important academic conversations. So we are committed to providing exceptional educational opportunities that motivate and engage each student. In fact, STEAM education is highlighted in our school district strategic plan. Our focus began with a STEM conference 6 years ago and evolved into our current STEAM approach to transdisciplinary education in our teaching and learning. We have different levels of STEAM opportunities in Collier. Our two major events are the STEAM Conference and Competition. The STEAM Competition is an annual event that begins with school-based competitions, and the winning teams from each school then compete in a district-wide competition at one of our local colleges. We provide transportation to ensure that every winning team has an opportunity to get to the venue, and we find that this competition has additional benefits and that many of our students have never stepped on a college campus. So you can imagine their excitement when they arrive that day. And we are grateful to Florida Southwestern State College for hosting the event and to Suncoast Credit Union Foundation for sponsoring our event. At our annual STEAM conference that I mentioned, we hold breakout sessions to support professional learning for Collier County administrators and teachers. And then at our STEAM Village, which was a big hit, we host hands-on activities for students and their families. It's really an awesome learning day in our school district. We hold many more district competitions at the state and local levels. We compete in science fair and noetic, math, Navy Sea Perch, which is an underwater drone, very cool, computer science coding, and math counts. Our schools hold many STEAM events throughout the year, and this includes grade level competitions, after-school STEAM academies, family events with STEAM, and more.
Our main event for the fall semester is our annual STEAM conference. Held on a Saturday morning in October, this event features keynote speakers, breakout sessions, STEAM Village, and an art walk. STEAM Village is a hands-on, fair-like event that made its debut last year and has quickly become the favorite of our student attendees. This year's conference will house 20 tent booths, each with a hands-on STEAM activity. With the addition of arts to our acronym, there will be art-based activities integrated throughout the day. We will also feature our National Academies Foundation program, which offers programs in engineering, aerospace, health science, culinary arts, informational technology, and entrepreneurship.
Collier Schools offers a wide selection of STEAM-based activities, programs, and academies. These are just a few of the examples of both district and school-based STEAM events in Collier. We host local and regional science fair for our middle and high schoolers and a unique science fair for our students with special needs. Many of our elementary schools have campus STEAM labs for primary and upper elementary grades, and our science department hosts several live video conferences from the Naples Zoo each year, where students have the opportunity to interact with experts like Dr. Luke Dollar, who is a FUSA expert, and scientists that work with giraffes in Africa. Our annual red carpet film premiere features marine science documentaries from 4 of our high schools. These marine students partner up with local agencies in discovery education to research and tell digital stories about environmental topics that are critical to our Southwest Florida ecosystems. In addition to the films, our digital design students at these high schools team up with the videographers, and they create some very cool movie posters that accompany each film. All of this culminates at our red carpet event in April each year, where we give awards to the best films. Our engineering students compete each year at the Florida Gulf Coast Solar Car Challenge, where these students design, build, and drive solar cars in a race around the campus. And fostering our girls' interest in STEAM is highlighted by our high school girls entering engineering club. These innovative young women are ambassadors for STEAM education in our district by visiting elementary and middle schools to encourage girls to pursue their interest in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Many of our school media centers have dedicated maker spaces where students can build, dream, and invent. And because every school in our district has a Twitter account, we are able to share in the many amazing STEAM activities that come out of our classrooms every day. You can follow us on Twitter at CCPS-STEM.
Collier County also trains teachers for each of the STEAM competitions. We hold workshops for littleBits, Lego robotics, Ozobots, solar cars, geocaching, lasers, marble coasters, ed camps, Makey Makey, and Teach Me in My World, which integrates the use of iPads into our curriculum. We also present sessions at the state events, such as the Florida Council of Instructional Technology Leaders and the Florida Association of Educational Data Systems.
As Traci said, littleBits is our 4th grade district-wide STEAM competition. Our students and our teachers love littleBits. There's just a natural learning that happens as soon as we put the littleBits in our students' hands. We incorporate littleBits into the curriculum through science, mathematics, and visual arts. In 4th grade, we study forms of energy. For mathematics, we look at those math practice skills. And in the arts, we look at the elements of art used to unite an artistic composition. We want to be sure that our teachers are successful so they can fully integrate littleBits within their curriculum. So we provide hands-on training for every 4th grade teacher. Teachers are given the district littleBits guidelines book, and these guidelines will lay out for them the competition procedures and provide the teachers with the rubrics that will be used to assess the finished products that the students or the projects that the students create in the classroom, in their school, and then again at the district competition. Teachers and students are given the rubric right up front so they can use it throughout the school-based competitions. Again, this exact rubric is used at the district competition. And the district rubric has 5 categories. Engineering, we want to know how the students are functionally integrating littleBits and the components into their finished projects. Artistic creativity, where we look at how the students visually represent the theme-based project. The presentation, which includes participation, oral presentations, demonstration of their project. And then the important teamwork. We want our students to work together and be members of a team and share that workload. And then finally, the planning, looking at the blueprint drawings that the students do in the planning phase. There's a maximum of 80 points that can be earned throughout that rubric. So in the fall, we start with a full day hands-on training for our 4th grade teachers. And we have our teachers work in collaborative groups to learn about littleBits and build the littleBit circuits. Our rule for the day is a simple one. They must have fun while they're learning. The teachers follow a similar process that we recommend for the classrooms. We want them to engage, explore, experiment, and then finally create. We emphasize the need to work together and problem solve, and the real importance of viewing those mistakes as opportunities. We challenge teachers to create a theme-based final project, which they present towards the end of the day. Throughout the day, we love to hear the cheers of success as they're working through problems together. We celebrate those small successes and the larger accomplishments. Teachers take that training back to the classroom with a wonderful excitement, and now the real fun begins back in their classrooms. Our 4th graders are actually given a double dose of littleBits with a hands-on introduction in their technology class, and then hands-on experiences in their classroom as part of their science curriculum on electricity and energy. We recommend that teachers use a center-based approach over a number of weeks so the students have multiple opportunities to experiment and engage with the littleBits modules. Then students build simple modules as they learn about the different sequences that create action and talk about the noise, the buzzing, and the lights are everywhere. Finally, students are given the rubric and challenged to work in randomized groups so that every student in the classroom has an opportunity to create a theme-based project. This theme-based project to learning incorporates science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics into one project. They start with their planning phase where they're drawing their blueprint. Then they go on to creating those projects with their littleBits and lots of craft materials. Each classroom uses the rubric then to choose a winning classroom team, and then each winning classroom team goes on to compete against the other classroom teams, and finally they choose one team to represent their school at the district competition. Now the all-important and fun main event for spring semester is the district STEAM competition. We have over 400 students, teachers, and parents that convene on the campus of Florida Southwestern State College. We have 4 different competitions that take place that day. Our 4th graders are working with littleBits. Our 6th graders are racing solar car. 9th graders compete in a geocaching challenge, and our engineering students work with Vex Robotics. Leading up to the competition, all 2,800 of our 4th grade students have an opportunity to explore and build with littleBits in their school-based challenge. All right, ready? Let's picture this. It's a huge room. There are 30 teams of 4 4th grade students. They're all clad in bright orange STEM t-shirts, and they're gathered around their school table. In the center of each table is a large container of art supplies, a placemat to lay out all of their littleBits pieces, of course waters and snacks, and then a brand new littleBits kit. The room becomes silent as the Master of Ceremonies prepares to announce this year's theme for the littleBits Challenge. The students listen intently. They're so excited to get started. And then a room erupts with conversation and unpacking as the students begin the 2.5-hour journey to plan, draw their blueprint, and build their littleBits projects based on the theme that was just presented. There's one judge for every 3 schools. Judges look for teamwork and collaboration and cooperation. Points are given for process throughout the day, as well as that final project. All students on a team are expected to be able to answer questions about their project, and final presentation is shared amongst the whole group, all 4 team members. Finally, each group presents their project to a team of judges. We even include a lights on and a lights off time during that judging so that students can show the differences in what their projects can do. Students, teams, advisors, and those parents all come together in the auditorium for the award ceremony. It's a full house, and actually they're standing room only. This year we're going to offer a live feed from both the littleBits workroom and the award ceremony to accommodate all of that overflow. All of our teams are celebrated with a medal as a school-based winning team, and then 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place teams win individual trophies and a trophy to take back to their school. The day ends as our tired, very accomplished students load on a bus to head home. We as educators could not be more CCPS proud of them.
So to end our presentation from Collier County Public Schools, I do want to reiterate we are CCPS proud of our school district's progress as we bring powerful STEAM teaching and learning opportunities to our students. And we truly appreciate our partnership with littleBits that brings this to life and adds flavor to our STEAM competitions. Thank you so much.